It's an aeroplane. The first thing I have to put on is a propeller. Time. This is an old 1960. Ladies and gentlemen, it's starting to go now. We got the thing bummed up, and we'll start to move out. And that's how you start an airplane engine. Thank you.
He was always very active and had lots of energy and curious.
He's my younger brother.
I was married to Kevin for 22 years.
The things he did, it was kind of like you never know what was going to happen next.
If you had a crisis or something like that, that was the person you turned to.
When he was a baby, I used to sit on his crib and everything and sing to him. He had big blue saucer eyes up his butt.
Kevin was a welder, he was a mechanic, he was an auto body repair person. He was my friend.
We got married December 12th, 1992. The day before there was a blizzard and we got married in beautiful snow.
We're going to be coming down this side of the church. You can just film us coming down, and we're going to be standing over there. Then you can get right kind of like in the center to get the girls coming down.
Okay. Presence of God, to witness the marriage of Kevin and Mary. Kevin and Mary, you may now kiss as husband and wife.
After the wedding ceremony, we were coming out of the church, and then all of a sudden, silly string everywhere. It was in my hair. It was all over me. It was in my mouth.
It's an MTV wedding!
It was all over him, and we had to just drag it off of ourselves.
He would say something, and the next thing you know, he was doing it or had it done. That's the way he was with stuff like that. He'd get on a project, and that's it. The one when he did that Mustang, and we're like, "You're gonna do what?" And he told us, and it's like, whatever, okay. So next thing we know, he rolls out this Mustang on that huge frame and the big wheels, and we're like, okay, he did do it, you know, but he would get something in his head and want to do it, and he found a way to do it. We would go out and hang out in it, and I think everybody that got out of that passenger side or tried to get into it because it was so high, you know, it's like, you need to put a step on this side of it. No, it's okay, it's okay. And I'm sure a couple of us actually fell because, well, I don't think it was because of the step not being there, but because we were intoxicated.
His shop was always cluttered. You always had to kind of step around things. He knew where everything was. If he needed something, he knew exactly where to go to get it. But for the outsider coming in, you had to be careful because in spite of the fact they had this big shop, he had one area that was his work area, and the rest of it was over here somewhat disarrayed and cluttered.
Kevin and I had 4 children. We have Rachel, of course, she's the oldest, Nicole, Justin, who has autism, and Samantha.
Easter Sunday. Whoever gets first gets $5. On your mark. Get set. Go!
How did you guys do that? You kept on running. Help.
He didn't think we were ever going to have children, so he wouldn't marry me. In September of 1992, I got pregnant. At first, I didn't believe I was pregnant. I took 4 pregnancy tests. He says, "I'm not going to believe it until I see the baby come out of you." And he was so excited. He was right there, right behind the doctor, almost ready to catch that baby. When she came out, she was absolutely beautiful. I was exhausted, and all he could say was, "Oh my gosh, she's so pretty, she's so pretty." He picked the baby up in his arms, and he looked into her eyes, and he says, "Oh, Mary, she's looking right at me. She's so beautiful. She loves me already. She's so beautiful." And it was precious.
I remember when I went to the races with my father, I used to go to the races quite a bit. And that particular night when I went with my father, Kevin not only won the race, but he won by quite a bit, which doesn't surprise me.
He was always trying to do stuff that somebody else didn't do. He liked to go fast on whatever he was on. If it didn't go fast enough, he did whatever he could to make it go faster. We started in 1983 and we built a car together, raced it at Genesee Speedway in Batavia. That was in the first year. The second year I drove the car. In '85, he drove the car at Perry, and he was track champion at Perry.
The gap and looking to make it a real battle at the front. It seemed like he always was hurting himself. That was part of Kevin. Sometimes I know he hurt bad enough that he almost couldn't work, but then he'd be good again.
Shortly after we got together, we weren't married yet. He had the chainsaw and we were cutting up wood for the winter. And he was sawing on a log that was down on the ground, and it slipped and it caught him in the upper left knee area. He hurried up, he ripped off his t-shirt, he wrapped around his leg. Very calmly he said, "Mary, go get the car. You're gonna have to take me to the emergency room." So he waited in the emergency room. The doctors came, they all looked. One of them even turned away and gagged because he had cut clear through almost to the bone. He half cut his leg off. They had told him it would take 2 years before he could walk right again, but it only took him 3-4 months to do it. He was very determined.
He was a tough guy because I know if he had stitches, he would take out his own stitches, and I could never do that.
He wanted to fix the air conditioning in his little Kia truck, and he put a new fan on it, and when he shut the hood on the truck, the fan quit working. So he went to open the hood, and as he did, the fan started working again, and he stuck his finger right into it and chopped off a good portion of the end of his finger.
We were having the roof worked on, and I heard something sliding off of the roof. There was a young boy who was working on the roof with them, and he said, "Ma'am, your husband just fell off the roof." And I said, "Really?" And there he was laying on the ground, and I said, "So you fell off the roof, huh?" And he said, "Yeah." He says, "Yeah, I think I broke my leg." And I looked, and he had a compound fracture. Both of the bones were stuck out through his jeans, and you know, bleeding all over. And I said, "How bad does it hurt?" And he says, "Well, it hurts pretty bad." I said, "Well, I already called 911, so we'll be all right." And he says, "Well, I hope they don't take too long." He says, "Because I've got a lot of things to do." And I said, "I don't think you're going to be doing anything for a while."
I know what some of you are thinking. This might not be a real Hook, but I am Captain Hook.
His last name is Doctor, we know, but he is also a doctor of creativity and imagination, and he's done many things for us. But we went down and said, to his house in his shop and said, "Could you do a hook by any chance?" And he said, "Sure." And the interesting thing that he told me right off was how happy he was to do the job, because a lot of welding is repair work. And yet he has the skills and the talents to do creative things as well.
Only one man could have brought us to where we stand today. Who was it that sailed uncharted waters and braved unknown perils to leave Neverland?
He had a John Deere. He loved John Deere lawnmowers. And he retrofitted it with spoilers and all this other stuff, and he made himself a turbo lawnmower. He would be going 50 to 60 miles an hour mowing our lawn. Now his son uses his turbo lawnmower. He really likes it. He says he likes the bigger lawnmower better.
All of a sudden, Kevin had purchased a building lot there on that side of the road and stuff, and I'm thinking, wow, it just surprises me that I've been out here cutting hay, helping my grandfather all these years, and I never really pictured how beautiful of a sight that hill was for a building lot. And he had started building the house, and he pretty much, you know, took on the project himself. Amazes me how much he can do himself. He can figure out a way to get it done.
I first pulled up to this house and saw it. I thought, my God, it's a castle. And then when I ended up moving in with him, about 6 months after we met, I felt like a princess. Unfortunately, my prince wasn't, you know, the nicest guy in the world all the time. He was opinionated and sarcastic a lot of the times.
He was close to his mother. I remember her telling me once that he did say to her, "I feel different." And then when I got older and I had a 3-day training for autism and stuff, and I came home and I said to Nana, I says, you know, Kevin's Asperger's.
And then he went to work, I believe, at Graham Manufacturing. He had a stable, good paycheck. He could be home at the end of a workday. He still had his shop part-time, and I think the stress load was not as great.
When he started working at Graham's, he blossomed. He became the man I never knew. It almost gave him a humanity that I had never seen before, just because he was with other people like him, or with other people doing things that they liked to do.
There was a African-American man working at Graham's, but there was another man there in the shop who was basically a bully. Kevin went to the boss and tried to sit down with him and explain what was going on out in the shop. And Kevin told me, even if I lose my job, I don't care, because I want to help make it right for this man. The bully lost his job. I thought that spoke a lot about Kevin. He stood up for somebody that was being bullied and mistreated. He thought that he'd found himself there, that things were going well.
On September 15th, 2013, Kevin went outside to pull a tree. And he said, send Justin out to help me because the skid loader's stuck in the mud. Justin came back and said, Mommy, Daddy's stuck in the machine. And I knew that it was serious just by the way Justin said it. The bucket had gone into safety mode, so the back of the bucket had crushed him into the machine. And obviously he was dead.
When I look around my farm, I don't think there's a piece of equipment on the property, or ever was, that he had not worked on. He kept my business going. I don't think it would have functioned without him for a long time. He was that good and that good a friend. And he had a sign when he had to go for parts, or when he had to leave the shop, he had a sign that he would put on the door, and it said, "Be right back." And I have the mental picture of that sign hanging on that door. Kevin is going to be right back, but he's not going to be right back, and that's a hard thing for me. He was a good friend, and he's gone.
He was the person that I turned to all the time, and the community would turn to.
He never ever wanted a picture on the wall of him. He hated the way he looked. But after he died, I found every picture I could of him with his children, with me, and I put those pictures up on the walls because I wanted to be able to remember him as the great father that he was and the great person that he was, because even though he was obnoxious sometimes, he was still my husband, and I still loved him, and I will always love him.